Alright everybody, in today's video, for my first video on YouTube, we're going to start the build on this 2010 Ford Ranger. I like to build trucks like this that come stock, boring, and ugly, and make them into something cool. You can check out my previous builds I've done on TikTok and Instagram already. I've only done 2 over there, but you see what I've done. As I was saying, we're going to make a full build out of this Ranger. Full build meaning like we're going to put a lift on it, a 7-inch lift, which is pretty big for a Ranger. And we're going to put new wheels and tires, brand new wheels and tires, 35-inch tires, which again, pretty big for a Ranger. We're going to clean up this whole front end. We're going to swap this grill out for a chrome one, paint match this part of the bumper right here, and just revive those headlights. We're not going to replace them. We're just going to clean them up, make them look better. So the first thing we're going to start on this Ranger, we're going to pull it into the garage and start putting the lift on it. So we're going to go ahead and start on the lift for this Ranger, and it's a 7-inch lift. This is a 2-wheel drive, so I know, a little disappointing, but I mean, it's a Ranger, you know. 7-inch lift, eBay special, because no one makes big lifts for these trucks, surprisingly, especially a 2-wheel drive. So we got a 7-inch lift that we're going to start putting on right now. And here is our 7-inch eBay lift kit. This is all it comes with right here in the box. Some lift spindles for the front, longer springs for the front, and new shocks for the front and the rear. You also get extended U-bolts, and these blocks are all that lifts the back, is these 5-inch blocks, which are very heavy, surprisingly. Like, this block weighs more than these springs. It's kind of crazy. You also get new hardware for whatever you need, cotter pins, longer bolts, new bushings, and stuff like that. So for eBay, it looks like a pretty good kit. But we'll see. Once we start putting it on and seeing what stuff fits, if we're missing anything, I'm sure we'll have to cut some stuff. We'll see. This whole kit on eBay cost, I think, 700 something. I want to say like 750 bucks. They have a bunch of different sizes. The people that made this kit, they have a 6-inch, a 4-inch. They have different variations on how you lift it. Could have used drop shackles in the back instead of these big blocks. But yeah, they have a lot of stuff. I don't know how good it is. We'll see how good it is after we put it on. Yeah, let's start putting this lift on, see how it goes. So I'm not going to be doing a full in-depth process of how to put this lift on. I will be doing like updates as I go along, and I'll tell you exactly what to do, kind of show you what to do, but I'm just not going to do a whole time lapse and a full breakdown of how to put it on because I don't know, I just don't feel like it. But obviously you're going to want to start with taking off your wheel. So let's get that off. All right, the next thing we're going to do is basically start tearing apart everything. So we're going to take off our brake pads, we're going to take off our rotor, the entire assembly of the rotor. So we're going to pop this cap off right here and take the entire hub off, okay? And then we're going to start disconnecting the old strut right here and along with anything connected with it. So let's get to it. All right, everybody. So far, we've gotten most of the stuff out of the way. We've gotten our brakes off. We got our whole hub assembly off along with the dust shield right here. Along with this and our wheel speed sensor as well. All that's left is we got to take this bolt right here off. And this bottom bolt's also holding it off. And then we'll pull this whole assembly off. Alright guys, now that we have everything out of the way, shock and spring out of the way as well, before we start putting our new stuff on, we're going to have to grind the lip off of this right here. This lower control arm has a little lip that sticks outwards. you're going to have to grind this off in order to use this spindle lift. If you do not grind this off, you won't be able to use the spindle at all. It won't go on there. So we're going to have to just cut this just where it's sticking out along right here, and then we'll start putting everything on. So really quick, I'm going to try and explain all the hard issues I've been having lifting this truck because it's a 2010 year model. 2010 and 2011 year models of these Rangers are for some reason completely different than all their previous year models, even though they're the same body style and they look the same. I believe they started this body style in 2004. So 2004 to 2009 are all the same, except for 2010 and 2011. Specifically, the front suspension is different, uh, mostly because of the wheel speed sensor. And I also found the coil springs are actually taller, slightly taller than stock ones from previous years. Hence why I had to get this spacer sent to me from the company that gave me this lift because 2010s are different. So this spacer should help level out the truck because currently it is a 7-inch lift in the front and a 5-inch lift in the rear. So it should be sitting level because it's two-wheel drive. But I don't know if you can tell on video right now, it is leaning forward a little bit because the 2010s are slightly different. All right, everybody, I'm going to show you a big issue I was having with putting this lift on, and it all had to do with these wheel speed sensors mainly. This is the original one that came on the truck, and I have a new one over here. This one I had to mess with a lot to get to fit in the spindle. First off, I had to cut this bracket part in half and glue it back together. You can see right here, just to make this bolt line up so it can be bolted in properly. Along with this plastic piece around the top here, you can see I shaved it down along with up here. Here's what it's supposed to look like next to it. It's a lot shorter, and then that rubber piece on the top there also was getting in the way, so I had to trim it down to get it fit in there. But I think in doing all of that, I actually messed it up and made it stop working by cutting into this part right here a little too much. I might have compromised the wires in the lift. So it throws a code that the ABS wheel speed sensor is not reading right because of it. And I have already replaced the driver's side one because that was the first code I got. And now I'm going to replace the passenger side one because it swapped to that side after I replaced the driver's side. So instead of modifying these as much as I did with the original ones, all I'm going to do is cut this part in half as I did like the other one so that this bolt will be able to bolt into the spindle but not mess with any of this part right here. And hopefully that will be all of the issues fixed. And what I did end up doing to get this to fit properly into the spindle, instead of cutting this plastic piece around the top here, I actually got a die grinder and I grinded down the inner workings of the spindle. That way it had enough clearance for the stock fitment one. And that seems to be a better solution than trying to cut around the plastic wiring and destroying it. And what I did to cut the plastic in half and then glue it back together is what I'd get a razor like this, and I'd heat it up with a torch really hot to where it was like glowing red, and then I'd just slice through the middle. That way it would be a clean cut, and I could just glue it back together after that. Also, I'm not going to be doing a tutorial on how to do this exactly, but I will tell you I'm going to be doing this rear part on the ground like this. I'm not going to be jacking up the car or anything like that. What I'm going to do is just unbolt the stock U-bolts, take them out just how they are, not a jack or anything like that. And then when I'm ready to put this lifted block in, I'm going to put a jack on these coil springs on the the leaf springs on the back here, and just push up on the leaf springs to make a gap between the springs and the axle. That way I can slide this block in between there and just let them back down on top, and then install the new U-bolts after that. And make sure that you're doing one side at a time. Don't take off both U-bolts on both sides at the same time. That way your axle doesn't move around as much and you can make sure to put it back in the right way. And it just makes it easier that way too. So let's get to it. And here is how we're looking after installing that 5-inch block. You can definitely tell a difference from the last clip. So the kit is advertised as a 5-inch lift in the rear, and all it is that 5-inch block that gives you the lift. It does come with new springs or shocks as well, so we got those installed as well. And yeah, we need to continue working on the front because it is nose diving a little bit still, so we need to go ahead and put on those 2-inch spacers. All right, everybody. So here is the finished product of the lift install. This was quite a chore. I don't know what all clips I'm going to be putting in here, but I'll give you the rundown right now. This is a kit I ordered off eBay, of course, eBay special. It was advertised as a 7-inch front, 5-inch rear lift for a 2000, I think it was like 1998 to 2011 Ford Ranger. Came with lifted spindles and a 5-inch block for the back. And right away, I noticed that putting this lift on, it was not 7 inches in the front. The springs that came with the kit were the same size as the stock springs that came off the truck, first of all. And the spindles that helped with the lift also just didn't seem like they were that big of a difference. So I went ahead and put it on, and I also ran into another issue with the wheel speed sensors. They did not fit in the spindles because apparently the wheel speed sensors for a 2010 and 2011 Ranger are completely different to all other models. And everything's working. But after I put the lift on, it was noticeably shorter in the front than it was in the back. So I messaged the seller on eBay, and they were very, very helpful, by the way. They were very good. I would highly recommend them because they took the time to talk with me. They asked for measurements and clarified everything, and they ended up sending me some spacers for the front springs to help the lift in the front, and also new U-bolts for the rear because the U-bolts were the wrong size for the 2010-2011 as well. The seller did tell me that they are going to change the listing to where it says it will not fit 2010 and 2011 since they are noticeably different. And another issue I ran into is obviously the camber issue. When you lift Rangers, it could be any vehicle, but especially Rangers, you definitely need to get upgraded camber bolts. I have lifted, let's see, a 1994 Ranger. They need camber bolts, which are completely different than these. 2003 Ranger I lifted, it also needed better camber bolts. And this is a 2010, which needed upgraded camber bolts as well. Because the stock ones that it comes with, in most cases, they aren't adjustable whatsoever. I'll probably throw in clips here of what the stock ones look like compared to the upgraded ones we got. So yeah, this is what it looks like to have, I guess, a 7-inch and a 5-inch lift on a 2010 Ranger. It is a task. It takes a lot of messing around with, and I'm still messing around with it as we speak right now. It's not perfect. I still need to get the camber right because another issue, if you take it to an alignment shop, they don't want to mess with it because of the bigger lift and the way the spindle sits on the lower control arm. They say they can't adjust it because of the lift. So you might just have to get someone you know to do the alignment, or just try and eyeball it yourself, which I'm trying to do right now. Moving forward with this project, we're going to be transforming the front end, transforming where we make it into an XLT model in the front, where we put a chrome grille on the front, paint match this part of the bumper right here, and then just revive the headlights by sanding them down and re-clear coating them, making them look better. Along with the rear bumper, we're going to paint match as well. because there'll be a lot more videos to come. A lot, I'm going to say maybe like maybe 3 or 4 more videos on this project. So if you like seeing cool car builds, be sure to like and subscribe because that's all I do on this channel. Is I like to get boring vehicles like this one started out and make them look cooler. You can also check out my channel Griffith Garage on TikTok and Instagram if you prefer that. And yeah, I got to get used to this long form media. I'm not sure. I'm not used to talking this much straight to the camera. And yeah,